Quarterback and tight end rankings, Week 11, presented by UrbanandM.com. Expect more videos later every week for the other unit groupings like wide receiver and running back and waivers. And you can click the playlist at the top right for the defense bids for all the ranking bids every week. Between industry-leading data, Vegas sportsbooks, and expert analysis, we provide optimal, data-driven weekly rankings for setting redraft lineups. Quarterback tiers are first, and the first 16, you feel great. The rest are, well, you'll see. Josh Allen, 248 over-under, 273 yards per game, 2.5 touchdowns per game. They're favored by 5 versus Tampa's 24th worst secondary. Matthew Stafford, 268 over-under, 270 yards per game, 2.8 passing touchdowns per game, 2.8 total tutties per game. That's why he's here. He's favored by 3 in a high-scoring game with the Seahawks, below league average secondary. Jalen Hurts, 233 over-under, 233 yards per game, 2.4 tutties per game, though, and most of the time, one of those is taken himself. They're in a heater with the visiting Lions. Patrick Mahomes, the second, 290 over-under, 293 yards per game, 2.3 tutties per game, and they're favored by 4 in Denver against their 6th best back 7. And Lamar Jackson, 247 over-under, 244 yards per game, 2.7 touchdowns, and he'd be number 1 if it weren't for Myles Garrett and the Browns' number 2 total defense. But it doesn't matter because these guys score more than 2 touchdowns per game through the air or with their legs. That is the top 5 quarterbacks. Week 11. A tier is for the rest of the elite quarterbacks, except for about 240 to 250 yards. There's 5, and they all score about 2 touchdowns per game. Let's talk about the first 3. Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott, and Caleb Williams. 2 touchdowns per game for these guys. 260 yards at least. Herbert's got the easiest matchup against the Jags. Dak, he's got the league average Raiders, and Caleb against the tough Brian Flores Vikings. Still 276 over-under, 255 over-under, 245 over-under. You feel fine, all right? And over here, the same thing is happening, just on a smaller sample size. And prepare yourself, okay? They have great matchups as well to match. Joe Flacco and Jacoby Brissett. Joe Flacco, 256 over-under, 259 yards per game. Jacoby Brissett, 248 over-under, 248 over-under, 299 yards per game in his 4 starts. And as if that wasn't impressive enough, 2.2 touchdowns per game. I mean, since week 7, it's been 2.75 touchdowns per game for Flacco. That's more than Lamar, but less than Stafford. I mean, boys. Pittsburgh's 32nd worst. San Francisco's 22nd worst. Give Flacco and Brissett a chance. That's the top 10 so far. All right, let's keep it rolling. At 11. UrbanandM.com. UrbanandM.com is my company my best friend and I started in 2020. We literally make everything ourselves by hand. We have earrings, rings, necklaces, bracelets, tie clips, apparel, and more. Over a dozen curated gemstones and 100 handcrafted products. If you need a gift or something special for yourself, use the promo code in the description. Find something you love. Buy it today. Back to the video. If you like to look good and spend money, shop at my store, www.urbanandm.com. But if you don't, because you hate looking good, you hate spending money, you hate me, yourself, you can just subscribe for free and like the video. All right, B tier. It's about 240 to 250 yards and not quite 2 touchdowns. Aaron Rodgers, he's got a new picture. 233 over-under, 208 yards per game. Well, why is he here? Because it's 2 touchdowns per game. It's a 49 game point total. Favored by 5 against Cincinnati's 30th worst. They don't play defense, okay? That's why he's here. He throws touchdowns, and they don't play defense. J.J. McCarthy, 238 over-under, but 296 yards in his last game. He's only had 4 starts, but it's been 1.8 tutties. All right, he gets Chicago's 26th worst with another 48-point game total for them. They're favored by 3. Sam Darnold and the Seahawks, 49-point total. All right, they're dogs by 3, but it's a huge game. Jordan Love, it's only a 42-point total, but they're favored by 8 points against the Giants. These guys are going to light it up against their matchups this week. Not worried. And I tell you who is worried about their matchup this week and otherwise would be lighting it up. It's Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. 241 over-under, 248 yards per game, 2.2 tutties per game. But the Philly game, low scoring. They're not supposed to win. Not going to be that interesting. Going to be a lot of defense. Defense doesn't make fantasy points for quarterbacks. Baker Mayfield, he gets knocked down with a brutal matchup set to lose against the Bills, third best. And it's not by a little bit. It's by 5 or 6 points. All right, so 261 yards per game, 1.8 touchdowns, but a mere 220 over-under. So if that tells you anything about what's going to happen, it should. It should inform you. And if not, that's what I'm doing. I'm informing you. All right, now it's time to roll the dice. C tier is 16 fantasy points and a dream. First 3, they might just do it for you. Brock Purdy, Davis Mills, Tua Tagovailoa. 261 over-under, 308 yards in his last 2 games, his only 2 games, and 2 touchdowns per game in both of those 2 games. Is he going to be 100% against the, just below league average Cardinals defense? Probably not. Does he need to be? Probably not. Can we be certain of what's going to happen? Probably not. Davis Mills, 212 over-under. All right, but he just put up 300 yards against Jacksonville. He gets the Titans this week. Could he do it again? Probably not. But is it better than picking from down here? Yes. Yes, it is. Tua Tagovailoa, 232 over-under, 199 yards per game, 1.7 touchdowns per game. He's had a second wind, right? And facing Washington this week's 31st worst gives him an avenue to keep it alive, to keep it going. And other than that, it's Bo Nix, Trevor Lawrence, and Michael, don't call him Penis, Jr. Rough spot. 7th best, Kansas City. You don't like that. 5th best, Chargers. You don't like that. Disgusting divisional game with the Carolina Panthers, and you're the Atlanta Falcons. None of these things are good. It's all less than 2 touchdowns. It's 1.5 if you're lucky. And that is the top 22. And here is the rest, okay? It's Marcus Mariota, all right? He's hit his projection 3 out of 4 times in his starts, okay? He ran for 29 extra yards. He doesn't really score, but there's a chance there's something there. Maybe, okay? And an even bigger maybe. Jameis Winston, 234 over-under, but he's set for 17 points against Green Bay this week. So I know you want to be excited, but you shouldn't. Geno Smith, 232 over-under, 215 yards per game? I don't think so. Cam Ward, 182 over-under? Nope. Dillon Gabriel, 175 over-under? No. Bryce Young, 162. Screenshots at the end. All right, let's do the tight ends. Got about 13 tight ends with respectable starts. 2 were okay starts, and the rest, well, they're the rest. S tier is 13 fantasy points or more, 40 to 70 yards, and or a score or more. It's Trey McBride, 77 over-under, 67 yards per game. He put up 127 yards in his last game with Jacoby Brissett in Week 10. 10 targets per game, 70% touchdown rate. He's
unlimited.
George Kittle, 50 over-under, 84 yards in his last game. He's finally back on 9 targets, 60% touchdown rate against the Cardinals. Why not? They're going head-to-head. Brock Bowers, 72 over-under, 64 yards per game, 7 targets, 50% touchdowns. There's nothing not to like. Jake Ferguson and Dallas Goedert. Look, they don't get all those fancy yards. It's about 42, 43 yards per game, all right? They've been playing pretty good the past couple of weeks. They get 6 or 7 targets, and they score. Fergie, 70% of the time. And Goedert, 1 less target, but almost 100% touchdowns. Almost a touchdown every game. That's the top 5 for Week 11. That's how you get in the top 5. 8 tiers for the rest of the elite tight ends. And for Week 11, this will take us through 11. It's about 40 to 50 receiving yards and a touchdown if you are lucky. Rando Gadsden, the second, basically 60 yards per game and 12 yards per reception on 6 targets through 8 starts. Okay, the only concern would be he's not 100% healthy out on the field. Travis Kelce, 43 over-under, 60 yards per game, 6 targets, 30% touchdowns. Denver's tough secondary. Is it going to be that tough? The score isn't super crazy, but he's an old goat, okay? So he's probably going to mollywop him. Dalton Schultz, 36 over-under, 49 yards per game, 7 targets. He just woke up with this part of the season. It's insane. Davis Mills dotting him up. Zach Ertz, same thing, getting dotted up. Marcus Mariota, JD5, doesn't matter. 40 yards in his last game, 45 over-under for this game. 6 targets, 0.4 touchdowns. He could even score for you against Miami. Kyle Pitts, 48 over-under, 47 yards per game, 7 targets. He's not going to score, but that's still respectable. Theo Johnson, same thing. 42 over-under, 32 yards per game, but 75 yards in his last game. Who else does the Giants have? Now let's go to B tier, and it's the no-score zone, all right, featuring 30 to 40 yards and 6 tight ends. It's Dawson Knox. Kincaid, he's out. It's that easy, all right? 33 yards in Dawson's last 2 games, all right? Pray for a touchdown. Cade Otton, 37 over-under, 39 yards per game, but 64 yards and 7 targets in his last 5 games, okay? He just doesn't score. Colston Loveland, 27 yards per game, 27 over-under, 36 yards per game, but 59 in his last 4 games. 5 targets, but he hardly scores. Harold Fannin Jr., 36 over-under, 44 yards per game, 6 targets, and guess what? Hardly scores. Mark Andrews, he hardly gets yards, 27 yards per game. He hardly gets targets, but he'll score 60% of the time. And he needs it badly, but it'll probably happen. Chig Nkonkwo, 31 yards per game. He's the last of anything respectable remotely. 4 targets per game. 0 touchdowns. He's not getting a touchdown. He's never got one. He's never going to get one. That's the top 17 tight ends this week. Hopefully you're slotting them from the top 11, to be honest. But if you aren't, then C tier is about 8 fantasy points. In the first 3, they might score for you. Other than that, these 6 will net you 20 to 30 yards. And heartbreak. It's David Njoku, 35 yards per game, 5 targets. He's not Harold Fannin. These are bad things. Noah Fant, 28 yards per game on 4 targets. He might score, though, just under a coin flip touchdown. Pat Freiermuth, 29 yards per game, 3 targets per game, 30% touchdown. It's the only reason he's here. Hawkinson, Musgrave, Evan Ingram, literally, they get 25 yards. That's it. That's the only reason they're here. They get 25 yards, and they could do something more than that. The rest, it's 20 yards or less. Boys, 20 yards or less. Tyler Higbee, A.J. Barner, Jonnu Smith, Michael Mayer, Isaiah Likely, Elijah Arroyo. That's the top quarterbacks. That's the top tight ends. Ask me questions down in the comments. Click the playlist. Check out the other ranking bids for Week 11. Like and subscribe so you can turn on the post notifications so you can see all the videos each week so you can set your lineups and you can win. All right? It's free, so it's a good value. But if you like to look your best, would like to spend money, use the promo code and spend it at my store. And watch some more videos.